We're going to be talking about the period of time that would encompass World War II. Is that correct?
Yeah, I guess so.
Now, what is your date of birth?
August the 1st, 1911.
Okay. I've got a few questions in. You've told me your name and your date of birth, and where were you born?
Mount Joy. That's northwest section of this county.
That's inside the county, isn't it?
Yeah, right near the Pike County border.
Okay. Now, your present address is Hillview Retirement Center, isn't it?
Yeah, 2737 Hillview Court.
What was your address before then?
2333 Makewood Wake Road.
In Portsmouth, Ohio?
Yeah.
And you're retired now. What are you retired from?
Well,
what did you do?
I'm semi-retired.
Semi.
Because I still work some for the Southeastern Business Colleges.
I see.
There are four of those schools: Chillicothe, Jackson, Portsmouth, or New Boston, and Lancaster.
Okay. Are they all called Southeastern?
All of them are.
Okay, Southeastern Business, or Southeastern Ohio Business College?
No, Southeastern Business College.
Okay.
Lancaster campus, Chillicothe campus, Jackson campus, New Boston.
Now, did you start those schools?
Not really. It's quite a complicated story. First of all, Bliss College in Columbus, used to be a common school up there. They started a branch here in Portsmouth in 1929. And they called it Portsmouth Interstate Branch of Bliss College. And later, one of the guys that were running the school bought it and changed the name just to Portsmouth Interstate Business College. Then I started working there in 39. I was teaching school all through the 30s and working part-time at the business college. Then I went in the Navy in 43. I started in 42. And when it came out, the school was for sale, so I bought it. And I ran it until 1970, about 46. Ran until 70, and then I sold it to a group of guys, a fellow named Mitchell mainly. And I decided I didn't want to work with it. They offered me a lifetime job, a good one then. But I didn't want to work with them because I thought they were mishandling government funds. So I had another interest in a school in Maysville, Kentucky, which had moved to Gallipolis. So I bought that school and started over. Meanwhile, Gallipolis. And then
I called that school
Gallipolis Business College. And then we started branches there in Jackson and here in Portsmouth and Chillicothe. And then we changed the name to Southeastern.
Were you in competition then with the Portsmouth Interstate Business College?
No, not really, because when I sold the school, I promised I couldn't start another school within 50 miles. Gallipolis is 55 miles.
Well, how about when you had your branch down here, though? What was that?
Well, I didn't have that branch. I was under three different guys.
That was another issue.
Yeah, Mitchell, Hall, and then Spencer. And I was out of it completely, working up there. Then when the government closed this school year, I wanted to come back and start new with my Gallipolis Business College, which we later changed. And then I came back here in 1980, I believe it was.
Okay. So you've been in the business of business education?
Well, general education until the business college. I became owner of it.
Okay.
I taught school at all 8th grade country schools. I taught in the consolidated grade school, and then I taught 5 years in high school.
Where did you go to high school yourself?
Raritan, which would now be Northwest.
Okay. And when did you graduate?
1929.
Then did you go to college for your teaching certificate?
Yeah, went to Wilmington.
How long were you there?
Well, I was there 2 years. And then I started teaching and would go back in the summers and so on. And finally got my degree in 37.
And then, when did the war came along here in 41?
I was teaching out of Clay High then.
Oh, okay.
I've been down to Winchester 4 years.
Okay.
And teaching at Clay, and the war broke out. And I said to my wife, well, this is going to change everybody's lives. Sure did. Then another teacher and I in Green Township in the early 42, when our school term ended, decided to go up around Cleveland and get jobs in industry. Everything was booming up there. Went up and got jobs, and meanwhile...
What were you doing then?
Well, I was a salesman with Canvas Products Company. We sold filtering cloths and laundry mat, all kinds of things, canvas, and a few other things, things for the breweries and so on. And I was married then and had a child, and I was exempt from service, but one day one of the workers came in and said, Blackburn, did you graduate from college? Yeah, I said. Well, around the corner, the neighbor recruiting station has a sign in the windows. If you got a college degree, come in and apply for officers. Yeah. Well, I've been in the National Guard 2 different times as a private, so I thought it'd be nice to be an officer. So I went around and applied, and well, everything went smoothly on the paperwork. And then about 4 or 5 days later, I had an awful pain in the side and found out I had an emergency appendectomy. I had that done in Lakewood, Ohio. And then I immediately told the Navy people that I'd be out of commission for a while and call me when they think I'd be ready. Then they didn't call me till January. And I did 43. Then on 43, I went in March 8th, 43, I went on active duty.
Where did you go for your active duty?
My first active duty was going to officer school in Dartmouth College in New Hampshire. Then another 2 months in Princeton, New Jersey. While there, I had a nice interview with Dr. Einstein.
Did you really?
Yeah, I did.
He was Dr. Einstein?
Yeah, he was walking around the campus every evening there. Everybody saw him. But one other officer and I decided, well, we'd go talk to him, tell us something to tell our grandchildren about, which is happening. So,
well, look, I got to tell you, I got to ask you then, what did you talk about with him?
Well, we just told him right off the reel that we were interested in talking to him because we knew he was a world-renowned character, and we wondered if he'd have time for us. And he proceeded to ask us all kinds of questions: where we were from, what kind of families we had, and all that. In fact, he interrogated us more than we interrogated him. We spent about 40 minutes with him. Yeah.
Were you in his office or out?
In his home office upstairs. His either wife or housekeeper opened the door for us.
Well, how did you do that? You went up to the porch, knocked on the door.
First time we went, he wasn't home. So we went again the next day, and he was home, and the housekeeper, whoever she was, asked if we might have a word with Dr. Einstein. Oh, yes, Dr. Einstein will be glad to talk to you, neighbor man. And he was. He was as friendly as could be.
His autograph?
No, doggone it, the phone had. I wrote it in my journal, though. I got a copy of it.
That's great. Okay.
Then, at Dartmouth, we had 800 college graduates from all over the country. The biggest schools there was. And they told us right away we were all going to see. And we lived in dormitories, crowded up like everything. And then he later come out and said, now, you men are all going to have a choice. You can have PT boats, or you can have amphibious boats, or the armed guard. Well, I'd known already what the armed guard was the gun crews they put on merchant ships. And I decided, I was 31 years old at the time, that would be better for me, especially with my background teaching and everything, because they said you was a part-time teacher and gunnery officer on the armed guard. So I applied for the armed guard and proceeded to get the training ready. I took some training after Princeton at Boston. Then Gulfport, Louisiana. Where is Gulfport?
Gulfport, I don't know, Alabama.
I guess it's out somewhere. Yeah. And then...
Not Mississippi.
No.
Oh, that's Biloxi.
Well, it's Mississippi. Yeah, Gulfport, Mississippi. Then was transferred up to... There was 3 armed guard centers: New Orleans, Brooklyn, and San Francisco. Then I was transferred to the Brooklyn Armed Guard Center. Huge, big place. And took my turn waiting for a ship. They call officers as the ships got ready.
Now this is a ship. This would be a merchant ship.
A merchant ship.
And the merchant ships were armed.
Yeah. We had usually 8 20-millimeter machine guns. and a 3-inch gun on the bow, and a 5-inch .38 on the stern. Darn big armament, really. And but my first ship, my second ship was a brand new Liberty from Baltimore. But the first ship I had was one we had captured from the Germans at the beginning of the war. And it had some other name. It had been built in Hamburg in 1914. It's sometimes we call it Hitler's secret weapon because when parts would go wrong, you couldn't find a replacement. But anyway, I sailed for a year on that one.
What was the name of that?
Blenheim, they call it the Blenheim. But there's another name to it. I should get the history.
There was a German name to it, too.
Yeah, there was, and I forget what it was. But then we had this 27-man gun crew.
And when you were on the Blenheim, did you go across the Atlantic, the North Atlantic, to England?
Yeah. Well, first trip we made to Cuba.
Oh.
Where we out with east England, Cuba, a little town called Antilla, and loaded up with sugar, raw sugar. And then we came back to the States and got the convoy and went over, took it to Liverpool. Coming back, we had a great storm, and separated us all from our convoy, and we were alone up there with terrible storm hitting us, and we began to take on water. So you see, the armed guard officer would be in charge under attack. The merchant marine captain was in charge the rest of the time. So, in emergencies like this, we'd all get our heads together. So we got together and looked on the maps and found the nearest place to get to was Newfoundland, St. John's, Newfoundland. So we headed for there and stayed there about a month to get the ship repaired. So we could go on to New York. Then we took another cruise back to London.
Same ship?
Yeah. And then when I got back from that one, I had leave coming. And so I took my leave and reported back in, about 2 weeks. And
would this be about 1944 in that area?
No, 43.
This still be 43?
Yeah, I went to sea in September 43.
Okay.
And then it was about May. I made about 3 cruises on the Blenheim. And then I took the leave and came back to the Brooklyn Armed Guard Center and was assigned a brand new ship in Baltimore, a brand new Liberty.
When you were on the Blenheim, was this a period of time where there was still the U-boat threat?
All the time. We had to go on general quarters before daylight every morning and be there at dark. And they had patrols. We had maybe 100 ships in this convoy with all kinds of escort ships along the side of it. Well, a lot of them were Canadian corvettes. And God, how those guys took a beating in those little ships. But the submarine threat wasn't nearly as great. But when you got over near Europe, you could have plane threats. And
did that happen?
No, not to my ship. But once the dangerous run was to go to Murmansk, Russia.
Did you go?
No, I didn't go. But I thought once we were going. But we went around the northern tip of Scotland and then got orders to go to London for all those things. So then when I got on the second ship, which is called the Vincent Harrington, named after some Wisconsin bigwig or something, maybe a congressman, I don't remember now. I didn't pay nearly the attention I should have to all these things and get the history of them and so on. So I sailed on it then for another year, and in fact, we went 2 trips to another trip to London, 2 trips to Cherbourg. Then on the last trip, we just left New York, and the war ended, and we were heading for Antwerp, Belgium. And when I got to Antwerp, Belgium, I heard about my old ship, the one I'd gotten off of. They'd fixed up, they'd gone in on one of the first rounds, shot down a plane, and then was the only ship hit in World War II by a B-2 rocket. We landed right beside it, and later when I was in Separation Center, the officer that relieved me came through with a Purple Heart. And he got bounced around somewhere other in his cabin that morning when it hit.
Knocked him out of his bunk.
Yeah. But anyway, well, he said it was a pretty scary thing that one of those things hit you. But Then when I went up there, the war was over, and we were just able to do sightseeing, whatever we wanted to do, although there were still some saboteurs around, German saboteurs. But
was Antwerp in pretty bad shape, or had it been preserved?
Not too bad, but we took one trip over to Rotterdam. God, it was leveled. They said I was the first naval officer to go into Rotterdam. We hitchhiked over there from Antwerp, not very far. And so when we
were you married at this period?
Yeah, I married and had a baby.
Oh, okay.
In fact, I was exempted and had to go on, but hell,
oh, that's right.
My family, everybody's in. I had two brothers in. My grandfathers had both served in the Civil War, and one great-grandfather. And I just felt I had to get in there. And
when were you married? What's the date of your marriage?
August the 21st, 1937. And I finished my college degree and was teaching at Winchester High School down here, a very nice place in Adams County. And I taught there 4 years and then came to Clay, and that's when the war broke out, and I decided that it's going to change everything. So that's my last year in the public schools.
So you hitchhiked to Rotterdam and then saw that situation. What happened there?
Well, they just leveled the town. You just wondered how it can ever be rebuilt. And I haven't been back, but I understand now it's gorgeous.
Have you ever been back to any of these places that you were stationed, like in
London?
You've been to London?
I've been to Princeton, been to Dartmouth, just the sightseeing to go back there. But I haven't been back to too many of them.
After you were finished with Rotterdam, did you get on your ship and come back home?
Yeah, came back home. We were having a party, really. Nothing to worry about. The war was over.
Having a party on the boat?
And we got back, and then
slow boat.
Then the Japanese war hadn't ended yet. So we immediately were told we were going to be sent to the West Coast to go to the South Pacific, the invasion of Japan. But meanwhile, I'd come home on leave again. After a year, you got to leave. And while I was here in Portsmouth with my family, the news came out that they dropped the atomic bomb. The war in Japan was going to be over. So I still had some time to serve. They let you out on points. So they assigned me to a separation center in Washington, D.C. Took some training at Great Lakes first. So then I worked for about a year over in Washington. I worked about 6 months and was free to get out. And I was a lieutenant then, commanding officer. I was handling the insurance division of it, and I'd had some insurance practice before the war. And he said, if you'll stay another 6 months, we'll raise you to lieutenant commander. Well, that's quite a promotion. So I said, well, Lord, I was living in Washington, I had my family over there. This is a great life now. Sure, I'll stay another 6 months. So I stayed another 6 months, and then came home one time, found out the business college here was going to be for sale. And meanwhile, I'd taken the job with the Veterans Administration after getting out of the Navy. But I wanted to run this school, so I came back and took it over August the 1st, 1946, on my 35th birthday. And been active in that kind of work ever since. But meanwhile, if you're a businessman downtown, they're always after you to do something. You got to be head of the Red Cross. You got to be working on this drive, that drive. And they've got me into politics. I served as a state senator for a term.
From this district?
Yeah. 8 counties representing here. And that is 51-52. That's a 2-year term then. The senator ran for Congress twice, but he ran against Jim Polk, the unbeatable one. And he beat me both times. But the first time, he only beat me by 324 votes out of 150,000. And hell, all the news came out that night that I was winning. The next day, it was a sad day. So then I sort of got out of politics, took some appointment. Then was appointed postmaster here for 4 years too. So I've done a lot of things.
You have
traveled a lot. Started the Sister City Committee here.
The Sister City Committee is this program where we sort of adopt a foreign.
Yeah. Well, we form an alliance with them.
Okay.
Exchange basis, students, teachers, fire departments, all kinds of things. And we now have 3 of those sister cities. We got Orizaba, Mexico. The first one.
That was the first one.
Yeah, that's when I really started. I was first visitor there and everything. Then later on, we started Zittau. I helped on that one. Then the third one is Corby, England. Zittau, Germany. Corby, England, which I didn't have much to do with. I've never been over there. But I've been to Zittau and Orizaba several times and traveled all over. Both my sons got service during the Vietnam War. David was stationed in Panama, and Sam was stationed in Vietnam. And I went to visit both of them at Christmas time.
Did you go to Vietnam to visit?
Yeah.
For Christmas. Did he know you were coming?
Yeah, he knew it was coming. At first, when I told him I wanted to come, he said, "I don't think you can." Then he wrote back and said, "Yeah, they say you can." And I said, no problem at all.
Interesting.
In Saigon.
Now you enlisted in. Did you like the Navy?
Oh yeah, I loved the Navy. If I'd have been longer or younger, I'd have probably stayed in.
Really?
See, when I came back then, they started the Naval Reserve here.
Yes.
And I was appointed first commander of it. I was the only lieutenant commander around that would take it. I think they offered it to the other guys. They were lawyers. They made too much money.
They were doing too well.
So then I stayed in that Naval Reserve for about 10 years. And each summer I'd take a cruise on some ship. The most interesting was took the cruise to Guantanamo Bay on Missouri.
Oh, really?
That's something. That ship was doing something. And then I was on a carrier and I was on a landing craft, a destroyer. Every summer I'd go on a cruise or something.
Now, when you were discharged finally, when you were retired did you retire from the service or what was it?
I got kicked out.
You got kicked out?
On account of my age.
Oh, I see.
I was eligible to be a commander, but my age limit wouldn't allow it. So,
okay.
But now, if I'd have gone to Bill Harsher, who was our congressman, I could have probably got around that, but I didn't do it. Because if I'd had 4 or 5 more years, I'd have had that Navy officer pension. I started at age 60. But I didn't get that, but that's all right.
Did you, of the people you met in the Navy, have you kept in contact with any of them?
In fact, Sunday I had a big long conversation with one of my heroic boys. See, when we got into Cherbourg the first time, the harbor was just full of people. Weather was bad, and our ship was full of ammunition, and they were unloading it on barges and taking it into the docks. And one day the barge right beside us was sitting up there watching these French people working on it, and all one smoke started coming out. And God, we didn't know what to do. And one of my men named Untitled, gunner's mate, he just jumped down there and grabbed that thing and threw it in the water. And it turned out to be a smoke bomb, but it was a heroic action. I wrote him up for it. Well, Don Tuttle, I kept in touch with him, and several of my other boys that I shipmates with. Now, I wasn't around many other officers. See, when you was armed guard, you were the only officer on that ship. So I didn't make too many. I had a few officers I stayed with. One just passed away down in Florida. But I still, some of my boys have died, but I still hear about half a dozen of them every Christmas, yeah.
Now, when you would go to, you went to France and England and you were in Antwerp there.
Yeah.
What was that like being an American service person in those countries at that? It must have been different each country.
Yeah, but they loved us. Everyone of them. Oh, God, yes. We just liberated them. The French were tickled to death. I should have brought some. The French was passing out over there.
Did you keep some souvenirs?
Yeah, I did. And my grandson has most of them now.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I brought back 3 or 4 guns and Nazi things that we picked up, but he had most of them. I have a few down home yet. I got a little 32 Walter pistols totally Hitler shot himself with at the last moments. So I could have had a lot more of them. My God, at that time, soldiers would come up and do anything. And in France, in Cherbourg, the first time I went in there, some of these soldiers were going around in their underwear because the French were paying them big money for their shirts. Anything they had. And then you could go around to the post office, buy an American money order, and send the money home. And a pack of cigarettes, we could get them on the ship for 50 cents. they pay $15 for them down there in France. And a lot of guys cleaned up. Of course, I didn't. I was an officer and had to set an example. But they had just all kinds of things going on over there after the war. And but they eventually cracked down on it. It was understandable because, hell, fighting a war like that is just mostly mainly organized chaos. That's about what it's like.
Okay.
But I had a great experience in the Navy. I'd never taken anything for it.
You got anything else you'd like to say about any? You got any tattoos you'd like to talk about? Or anything?
Well, I got one.
Is that the Navy?
Yes, it's in the Navy Reserve. That says USNR.
Oh, gosh, there it is right there. USNR.
My wife didn't like that very well. I got that in Norfolk, Virginia, one time.
That's funny.
Now, let's see. There's so many highlights to this thing. I met a nice family in London and bought a wonderful music box from them. Which, see, you should have this down in my house.
Where is your house?
Right down the street here. I'm at Hillview.
Should have done that.
Yeah, and they had a wonderful music box called a Polyphone. And I wanted that so bad. I met these people and I took them some of our food from the ship's galley and traded in, and they finally offered it to me for free. And I said, no, you have to take something. So I paid them $24. I wouldn't take $15,000 for it, man. It's the rarest thing you ever saw. Plays beautifully. So I had some very rich experiences there, traveling, and I was very curious. Every time I'd go places, I tried to see all I could. Like when I was in London, God, every time I get away from that ship, I was seeing those wonderful things. And the contrast was, one of the boys, one of my gunners, my coxswain he said, I told him I was going ashore and go to see Westminster Abbey or something like that today. And he said, well, why do you go uptown all the time? I said, the bars around here are just as good as they are up there.
No concept of what.
It didn't mean anything to him.
Okay. Let me ask you this. I try to establish a genealogical line, too, because I know that people who watch us would be interested someday. What were your parents' names?
Well, my father's name was Cain Monroe Blackburn. He was the grandson of either an Irish or English immigrant that landed at Manchester in about 18 and 20-something, married a Cherry Fork girl down there, had 2 children, a boy and a girl. The girl named Elizabeth married somebody who moved to Oklahoma, but the father, who was my grandfather, ended up in Mountjoy, where I was born, and he had 6 children.
What was his name?
Thomas Blackburn.
Thomas Blackburn.
Thomas Blackburn.
His father's name was
Edward.
Edward,
yeah.
Edward, Thomas.
And then my dad was Cain Monroe. He was the youngest of 6. He stayed on the farm in Mountjoy. But he died at age 52, so we had to leave the farm, moved down to Raritan. That's where I went to finish school.
Did you work the farm, too, when you were...
Well, not much there. I was only 12 years old when he left. And but when I was in Raritan, that's the only kind of work you could get. There was farmers around there hoeing corn and shucking corn and things like that. I did quite a bit of that. But then when I finished high school, I had this chance to go to Wilmington. It's a small class, but I was valedictorian, and they had a small scholarship for valedictorian. And so my brother was one of the heroes up there. That's Tom Blackburn. He later became coach of the Dayton Flyers, and they became very famous. Maybe you've heard of them back in their basketball days. But Tom was quarterback on the football team. His name was Tom, too. There's a lot of Tom Blackburns. And so he was 6 years older than I, but he taught school a year or 2 before he went back to college. And so we lived together in the dorm there the first year, and then he stayed somewhere else the second year, and I got my teacher's requirements and came back and started teaching there in Raritan Township, a place called Hackworth Hill, where my mother had been raised.
Is that right? Well, what was your mother's name?
Hackworth, Ruby Pearl Hackworth, and she was from a big family. They came in there from Lawrence County at one time, and they lived out here on this most damn barren place there was. You just wondered how they ever made a living, but they did. And and all of them lived through it. And then she married my dad and had 6 kids, 5 boys and a girl finally. And I'm the only boy left, and the sister lives in Grand Rapids. She's come down to see me tomorrow.
Is that right?
Yeah.
That's great. Well, now, what were her parents' names? Her mother's parents' names?
Well, her father's name, of course, was Hackler. And her father and grandfather both served in the Civil War. And then my grandmother's name was Carey, C-A-R-E-Y.
Is that her last name?
Yeah, that was her first name, Susan Carey.
Susan Carey was her maiden name.
Yeah, and they came from up around Iron too. And there's a lot of Careys up there now, I noticed.
Okay.
So we're probably related. But we didn't go too far back. We tried to study quite a bit about the Blackburns, but haven't done
you had the people in the Civil War too. Your wife had Civil War veteran.
Oh yeah.
And you had Civil War.
Yeah, that's right. My wife's grandfather was wounded at the Battle of the Wilderness, and he was from Vermont, and then he moved down here for some reason or other and got very active in Republican politics. And he served as commissioner once, and then he was once head of the canal between Columbus and Portsmouth. His name was Charles Goddard, I believe it was.
Okay. Now, did you have children? You had children, I believe.
Yeah, I have 2 boys.
Okay.
David runs a hospital in Little Rock, Arkansas.
Oh, I see.
Heart and Arteries. He once ran this hospital here for a while. And he went into that. And Sam, my youngest boy, he just passed away in July. Terrible thing. He died of a heart attack, only 53 years old. And he was running all the schools. I sold out for him.
Oh, he was
and he lived in Chillicothe. And he'd been married twice, so we got a lot of complications out of this.
Well, did he have children too then?
Yeah, 2 boys, but one of them was handicapped.
I see.
Now the other one is doing just fine, Aaron. He'll soon be finishing college and probably sometime take over the schools, but we don't know. These young fellows all have big ideas.
Now David, he has children?
Yeah, he had 1 boy by his first wife. Now his first wife died. She was a Southerville girl.
I see.
And then later he married again, and they don't have any children. But then his son, Tom, his name's Tom too, lives in Columbus, and he has a son. So
what does Tom do in Columbus?
Well, he has worked in the trucking companies. He's in the Navy. He was in the Navy 6 years over when we had the Arab things over there. He's on the ship over there a lot, and he's back in the Naval Reserve trying to get his 20 years in and going to college up there, community college. But he drives a truck, he works for construction groups and everything. He's a pretty handy boy. So he's doing all right, I think.
He has children?
1.
Okay.
Then he's divorced from the mother.
Okay.
But he gets a kid on weekends sometime and brings him down here to me. So he's my great-grandson. It's all boys in the family. We don't have any girls.
Okay. Well, Leo, is there anything else you'd like to tell me or talk to me about? Or you met Albert Einstein. Did you meet anybody else famous, like any famous admirals or anything like that?
Saw Harry Truman and Herbert Hoover. In fact, my first vote was for Herbert Hoover.
Is that right?
You can say that. But Harry Truman used to walk around Washington, 2 or 3 bodyguards along with him. So I worked right there in the heart of town in the separation center there for about 8 months, really.
You'd see him walking by?
Yeah, he'd walk up the street and wave to everybody and so on. Then when he was campaigning, he stopped in Ashland with his train. And I happened to be up there that day and saw him there too.
Oh, okay.
And of course I knew Ronald Reagan. I met him before too. But of course, I never paid. I always got their autographs and all kinds of things if I wanted to, but never thought about it. But then now Vern Wright was a very great friend of mine. Every time there'd be a Republican opening up there, when he was head of the legislature, he'd always call me. So I served about 8 years on the Elections Commission, appointed by Blackburn. Had to have a Republican, and he just did all kinds of things. Everything I wanted done, he done it. And My dream, of course, is still to have a tramway from the banks of the Sauga here on the high side to those hills over in Kentucky.
Okay.
Be the only one in the world over a major river between two states. It could complement those murals and be the greatest attraction in the Midwest for tourism. And Vern was hot with me on that.
I remember that being in the paper.
He even allocated funds up there to make the initial surveys, you know.
Were the surveys made?
Well, not just partly. You know, Lewis and companies, Bill Lewis.
Oh, yeah.
He's done some preliminary work on it. He didn't get the whole thing done, but Vern, and then another thing happened. And I was involved in it too. Bob Morton of the Auto Club had been up to Steubenville, and he'd seen a lot of murals up there on how buildings everywhere. And somewhere there he got talking to Lou Shavity, you know Dr. Lou.
Sure do.
And said, we ought to go up there and see about maybe murals in Portsmouth, flood wall. So we all went up there, and I was made the historian of that first group. And we decided, well, we'd go good. No money coming in or anything. But we started working, and you see what's happened down there.
It's wonderful.
But we put the aerial tramway on the back burner. Now, since then, I've had a hip replacement. I can't walk very good. And I'm not just physically able to pursue that aerial tramway. I know it's the most sensible thing in the world. There's no reason the world why we have. Now, I've visited them all over the country.
Tramways?
Yeah. Every time and I tried to find the people that were running it. And the two I saw was at Palm Springs, California, and one at Albuquerque, New Mexico. And I talked to both these people running this, and I told them about what I had in mind here, and they asked me a lot of questions, and then each one said, my God, you people are sitting on a gold mine out there and don't even know it, and somebody else is going to beat you to it. But you can just imagine what that would be like. Now, I was in Rio de Janeiro. They had some tramways there. And God, the school buses were lined up. Everybody was coming to ride those tramways. They would here. The murals would
be quite a compliment.
Oh, wouldn't they be? That'd be something. We had both those. And it's feasible. In fact, the Army, we want to talk to everybody if there were any things in the way, like the Army engineers, they control so much of the river. They gave us the green light, said there was no reason in the world why that wouldn't work. And
is there an organization now, or the remnants, I guess, to put it, of an organization where all the paperwork that you accumulated on that project is kept?
Yeah, I got most of it. And they got some downtown. Now, Frank Gerlach was hot on it.
Well, he was. I remember being.
Yeah, Frank was 100% for it. And Bauer, I don't know, he's had so many other problems. He hadn't shown much interest in it. But then I talked to, we're getting ready to do the, sesquicentennial?
Since the
bicentennial.
Right.
Well, for 2003. Well, I talked to the woman promoter down through here, happened to meet her by accident, got telling her about this, and she said, oh, what a wonderful thing that would be to have it completed for the year of our state day. But then I've never heard from her anymore. And I'm just not able to pursue it like I should. But we made a long ways, but we didn't get Kentucky's cooperation like we should. They sent a man up from their tourist department in Frankfurt. We used to meet over American Legion South Shore. We had a lot of meetings over there. And this guy came up. He was one of the top men in tourism in Kentucky. And he heard us out. He says, well, after hearing all about this, I think this would be better for Kentucky than for Ohio. Because they're thinking about a high rise over there and Jenny Wiley Trail and a petting zoo and all kinds of things. Souvenir shops and motels and so on. It could have been a wonderful thing. And we could have the same thing over here. We could have a convention center, motel. There was space beautifully available down there.
Was the site already picked where the Ohio side? Where would it have been on the Ohio side?
Well, just beyond the flood wall, after you go through the murals.
Okay.
There's a big open area down there back of the brewery.
Yeah.
Just be perfect.
Okay.
And I think T. Mock owns that. He did it one time. And he said I would be most cooperative if they wanted to do that. We had a lot of very prominent people working on this at one time.
Sort of fizzled out.
Yeah, well, we put it on the back burner because the murals demanded 100% drive.
They're very successful.
Yeah, they're very successful. And Lou Shabbat, most everybody knows he would do anything in the world for him. And this was his pet, and I was going to go along with it. And then I had arthritis in the hip, had to have a hip replacement, and I had to give up my position on the board with the murals. Now I'm trying to get a mural representing Kentucky.
That'd be good.
It's a wonderful idea.
Yeah.
And sort of a blending in picture with Jesse Stewart, Abraham Lincoln, Daniel Boone, and industry, tobacco farming, whiskey making. I've got a sort of rough draft of it, but some of these people have been really slow down. I know Kentucky doesn't do anything for us. Well, hell,
no, they do. They come across the bridge a lot.
They spend a lot of money, and what? After all, somebody has to make the initial glad-handed approach. But why not? If we do that for them, they'd send thousands of people up here to see that mural.
Let me ask you one question. Where were you? What were you doing when you heard about Pearl Harbor?
Well, that was on Sunday morning. And I was living down here on 17th Street and over there near the gate of the railway station, teaching out of clay. And on Sunday morning, we were messing around and finally turned the radio on. And God, I've never heard anything like this before in my life. That's all it's talking about. And I turned my wife in and said, Julia, things have changed our lives right now. Well, it was a little while. I finished out my term at Clay, went to Cleveland to work, and then got into this Naval Reserve thing, or Navy thing. And
so you were at home and just happened to turn on it was Sunday.
Yeah, it's Sunday morning.
On the radio and heard about it.
Yeah, and probably it's 10 o'clock before we turned it on. And God,
I was going to say, where were you when you heard about the atomic bomb? That was,
well, I'd come home, and my wife and David, we had a place down here in Friendship we were staying. People named Doms, D-A-U-M-S. And we were staying there, and one day we listened to the radio. They'd all gone. We were sitting out in the yard, the radio on, and heard about that. And I thought, well, there's another thing's changed our lives. I won't be going to Japan after all.
Okay. Well, Leo, is there anything else you'd like to tell me? Or
oh, God, I could go on for hours, but we don't
have that much tape.
That's all right. Oh, we've been having tape on this thing all night. My God.
Sure enough.
Well, I think it's old enough.
Okay.
I've traveled a lot all over the world nearly, and been around the world, been to African countries. Some of the most interesting travels, of course, was Egypt. Anybody that's seen what I've seen in Egypt will never forget it. And I made a study of the Shawnees and the Incas and the Mayan Indians too, written articles about them and everything. I should have brought you.
Are they published articles you're talking about? Published?
Yeah.
What magazines were they published?
Well, there used to be a magazine called Beautiful Ohio.
I remember that.
And then there was one, the Auto Club used to have a different magazine they have now. And I just produced a book here on Julia Marlowe.
You did?
Yeah, I'll give you. I've got a copy out in the car. I'll give you.
Well, let me see how much I have left on this tape. Maybe we'll go down to the house.
All right.
Want to do that?
Well, I'm supposed to go up to school sometime.
What time? What time?
It's just before 3. Well, we can go down there.
What school are you talking about?
The business college.
Oh.
I go up there usually every day.
I might just shut down now and go down to the house, and I'll call it a day up here. I don't think they sort of forgot about me coming up this morning, so I didn't have anybody this morning. But I have another appointment November 9th to get people, so if you know veterans, tell them that I'll be up November 9th.
Well, there's some great veterans around here.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of the most heroic ones don't like to talk about it.
I know.
Good if you loosen them up.
Videotaping Leo here at your house.
This is the Ohio Hall of Fame medallion. Now, incidentally, that wasn't just for war duty. That was for what's happened since the war.
Well, you know Paul Maple, don't you?
Yeah, Paul. He worked like heck for me on this.
He told me about that. Now what's the other one there?
That's the medallion representing the Armed Guard, the branch of the Navy that I was in.
Hold that up just a little bit more so I can get it. Okay, good. Yeah, very good.
Very proud of both of them.
The Ohio Veterans Association.
Well, it's a Hall of Fame for veterans.
Hall of Fame for Ohio.
Yeah, they take in about 20 a year. Paul Maple helped me get it, no doubt about that.
Where is that English phonograph or whatever?
Oh, right here. Play a tune on that.
Okay. Oh, look at that. I don't know. I can't get around there, I don't think.
Well, I can't very well move it.
You can't move it, can you?
No.
I just might unplug and hook up around there.
Yeah, you can do that.
Okay. That's what I'm going to do.
It's all mechanical, no electricity involved. Polyphone, I don't know if that's the best name for it or not, but the date up here is 1900.
Okay, where's
over 100 years old.
Oh, yeah. Where's the date on a little plaque up there?
Yeah. It says 1900, November 1900.
Now, the story on that is that when you were in England,
I met this family, and we got to be friends, and I got to visit with them, and they had 3 or 4 different kinds of music boxes, but this one I fell in love with. I had to have it.
Now, did you actually give them $24 in cash, or?
Yeah, well, about 6 pounds, and then brought some food in for the ship, too. They didn't have much over there, you know.
You were telling me here, too, that you wrote to them on and off for a while, and then you learned that actually their house had been destroyed by a V-2 rocket.
B-1 bomb.
Oh, B-1.
Buzz bomb.
Yeah, buzz bomb. Okay. Yeah. And that had you not gotten this, of course, it had been destroyed.
Wouldn't be such thing today.
And those are some additional, what do you call those? They're not records, but
discs, they call them. They're
discs. Okay.
They're perforated. Now, I don't know how people could be that clever to make something like this.
Right.
But those perforations are what hits these keys here and makes the sound.
Interesting.
Quite wonderful.
Yes, it is. Okay. Well, I appreciate you showing me. What other tunes do you have with that?
Oh, gosh, got all kinds of them.
Okay.
Many marches, many
that's okay.
operatic tunes and everything.
Okay.
That's one of the best ones. It's sort of American March.
Now, you were talking about some pictures or something?
These are pictures I brought back from Egypt. Now, I recently had Germans in my house. They gave me these 2 little pictures.
Okay, and that would be where? Okay, I see.
That's they from Zittau. But that's not Zittau picture there. That's, I don't know what city that is.
All right. Now, you were in Egypt, and these are some material that you brought back from Egypt.
Yeah. Brought back quite a few things from Egypt, but
interesting.
See, where are they now?
Okay. Here are some family people.
That's Governor Taft.
Where's that?
See, I campaigned with his grandfather.
Oh, is that right?
When I was running for the Senate, Ohio, he was running for the Senate U.S. We both won.
Oh, great.
But then...
Now, his grandfather was also Robert.
Robert A. Taft.
Okay.
And
interesting.
That's my great-grandson.
Oh, great.
Taft's family. All
very
good.
Very
things
good.
Here and
different
kinds of pictures. Let's see, there's some... You have to have your battery.
I'll just follow you around here as far as I can go with this.
Can't go very far, I'm afraid.
Okay. I might just come through there.
The Kiwanis Club has their highest award is called the Hickson Award, and Rotary highest award is the Harris Fellow.
Well, do you have those awards on the wall?
Harris Hickson Award, and as far as I know, I'm the only guy in the world that has both the Harris Fellow and the Hickson Award.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. Now, what's the Harris for? Is that the
Kiwanis? It's top-notch Rotary.
That's the Rotary.
I've never been a Rotarian except honorary in Warsaw. They gave me that.
I see. And then you were in Kiwanis a great deal.
Oh, yeah, since 46.
That's that award up there, isn't it?
Yeah, that's this one right here.
Uh-huh.
Just got that recently.
Oh, did you? Okay.
And this other one I got several years ago.
Okay.
From when former mayor
the mayor.
Dick Roberts was.
Right.
These are Mexican things.
Mm-hmm. You've been around, haven't you?
Oh, yeah. There's a Mexican wood carvings, Mayan Indians over there, too.
Uh-huh. Okay.
I got all kinds of stuff up at school in my office up there.
Do you? Do you still have an office there?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I see. Well.
That's one thing I had a lifetime agreement on.
Place to go.
I would have that office as long as I wanted.
Well, this looks like a pretty nice place to live.
Oh, this is wonderful.
Uh-huh. Okay. How about at the end of my tape?
Argentine cowboys.
Yeah?
Gauchos. They use these balls instead of lassos.
That's right. I remember that. Yeah.
I've been all over South America.
Okay. Well, I'm about at the end now, so.
Okay.
Okay. Well, thanks very much.
I got a book here for you, too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I got to give you that.
Is this your book that you said you had published, or?
This is it right here.
Uh-huh.
About Julia Marlowe. See?
Oh, yeah.
My wife was named after Julia Marlowe.
Oh, really?
Yeah, her name was Julia, too.
Uh-huh. Okay. I see that.
And I got it here.
Uh-huh.
With compliments to John McHenry.
Well, thank you very much.
Autographed. 100 years from now, that will be worth 39 cents.
It'll be Well, I'll hang on to it then, because I certainly need 39 cents.
There's good history in there. A lot of good stuff in there.
Okay, great.
Now, this guy down at Community Action helped me a lot with it.
Okay.